painfully obvious that you should be the face and voice of CR Laurence. I told you that when I first met you.
Shut your mouth, sit there and listen. And I think if you do more listening than you do talking in sales, I think you're going to get a lot further. If you have an ounce of creativity and you give a damn in the slightest, I mean, you can create some sort of type like media empire that really would have been unheard of a number of years ago. Nothing vibes higher than authenticity. Pulling in the same direction. And that goal is success. It's success for CRL, OBE. It's for Baron Glass. It's, job is to show up and be a hell of a partner for you.
I want to be like Andi when I grow up. I could listen to her talk literally for hours. Massively powerful.
Hey, what's up, Glazers? Welcome to another episode of Glass GPT. I'm here with my friend, Andi. She's our CR Laurence sales rep here in Denver. And she came on the podcast to tell us what they got going on over there at CR Laurence and a little bit with Oldcastle BuildingEnvelope. So, who doesn't know who you are you, and what do you do?
I'm happy to answer that question. In fact, I was recently promoted from a territory sales manager to branch general manager. So I got a new title, and with that comes new responsibilities. And honestly, the timing is just right. So, but prior to that, I spent 18 years in broadcasting. I really shouldn't admit that to people, but I do. So, it's been an interesting year. And I'm excited about what's going on with CRL from some of our new product launches, which I know we're going to talk about, and just our new effort to make sure that we are really taking care of our customers.
First of all, howdy, ma'am.
Howdy.
I did not know that you were a broadcaster. So before we dive into the whole CR Laurence, I could tell as you were talking on this intro, I'm thinking, holy shit, this girl's like dialed in. Back to you, Andi. Can you touch on some of the similarities that you might have had of experience in your 18 years of broadcasting that have kind of transcended over into the customer service side of glass hardware?
I know, right? As soon as I got to tell you, I'm absolutely loving this right now because I get to blend the two things that I'm passionate about, which is CRL and television. So it is a great fit. So thank you for noticing. I appreciate that. But I think what translates is communication skills. I think as salespeople, we do like to talk a lot. I try to do what a good journalist does, which is just shut your mouth, sit there and listen. And I think if you do more listening than you do talking in sales, I think you're going to get a lot further. And Keith, I know you just touched on that recently. Might have even been today in one of your podcasts. And I think that, right? You just did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is important. And I think that is something that I do bring to the table. I'll start the conversation, but then I'm just going to sit back and listen. And as you listen, you find out where the pain points are. You find out what you can do better. And I think the other thing that kind of translates over is it takes a lot of energy, to do broadcasting, to do it well, to show up every day, try to look like Miss America. It gets harder the older you get. I can tell you that. And then I think with CRL, it's the same thing, right? It's show up with an energy. And with that energy, people, you can show that you care and that you're engaged and you're here to solve problems and sell a lot of awesome hardware.
Awesome. Brandon, back to you.
Back to me. So I kind of feel like, I was just telling Andi before we started this episode that I had no idea that Glass GPT was going to go on daytime TV, man. I feel like I'm in a soap opera. This is incredible. I'm going to try my hardest to not screw it up. So
I'm a fanboy.
Let's change gears a little bit. And before we jump into the hardware and the CR Laurence and all that, I just want to ask you about your experience with social media lately. What are your favorite platforms, and how do you approach it? Like, what is your methodology or philosophy as of today?
I think today as a professional in basically any industry, I think you have to do your due diligence and participate in LinkedIn, especially. I know both you guys are really dialed in on LinkedIn, and myself trying to do the same. Because what's nice is on occasion, if you really do, you put out there what projects you're working on, who you're working with, there's typically a connection that you can feed off of that, right? It's going to help feed your pipeline. And then it's also nice when somebody goes, hey, wait a second, you're that cowgirl.
Ooh,
yes, that's right. Yeah, it's they have some feel for who you are before you even open your mouth. And if I've done my job correctly on social media, it's a positive, right? So, and I like Instagram. I mean, Facebook, let's be real, it's just like for my mom, you know, so she can see pictures of my dog and things like that. But I still do Facebook. I still do, but I would say LinkedIn is where a lot of my efforts go into. And I enjoy, you know, you guys update, it seems like daily content. I'm not that good. I wish I was, but yeah, I think LinkedIn for me is probably the powerhouse. What about you guys? I got to ask you a question. What's your
I
favorite platform?
my favorite platform, and I want to preface by saying it's my favorite because the ROI is the biggest, and that it's LinkedIn. Most of the decision makers,
Yeah.
people that we're seeking out to do business with, are not only digesting it, but I'm not saying a direct call to action, but it's the closest of all the platforms because of the rapport building, the info, just
Hmm.
all the reasons that you stated. For me, it's
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Brandon, what about you?
For me, I have two favorite platforms because I'm doing two things simultaneously. For my personal brand, it's called Be Inspired Studios, host of this podcast. My platform I want to focus on the most and I'm pouring the most effort into now is YouTube because
Yeah.
YouTube builds trust over the long term. And if somebody spends an hour with you, it'll probably take them years to spend that same amount of time watching shorts. Now, with that
Yep.
said, I recognize that I have a small channel. It's going to take a long time to build, but I'm actively doing it every single week. My second, well, actually, I have three. So YouTube is what I'm focusing the most on now for my personal brand. My second one is LinkedIn, obviously.
Mhm.
LinkedIn is where I have the most following. I've been on it the longest, and I can, if I wanted to, I feel like I can pull thousands of dollars out of thin air if I needed to by simply DMing people that have commented on my post. And I could actually do that at will. And that can only be done on LinkedIn for the purpose of making money. Now, for Baron Glass, my favorite platform is by far Instagram because we are we are a high-end interior glass shop, and I like to post very aesthetic, cinematic content, professional photos and video, and that type of content belongs on Instagram. And every
Mhm.
single time I'm talking to a customer and they're asking me about a specific product, I go on, I say, pull out your phone, I'll send you this post, and it's a aesthetic video of me talking about the product that they want. Or I'll send them like 4 or 5 different videos of all the products that they want. And there's never been a single time where that has not worked. And not only
Mhm.
that, but we have countless stories where we reach out to builders on LinkedIn or on Instagram, and it leads to like a $250,000 worth of revenue over the long term of that life. So I'm kind of spread across three right now, but I had to say that the one I engage with most actively these days is definitely LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And it's an interesting time. Oh, sorry, Keith.
No,
No,
go
go ahead.
ahead. You
I was
first.
going to say, it's interesting to be in 2026 and the accessibility that we have with videos and television, right? I mean, it used to be, go back 15 years, really it was pretty much limited to those who were actually on TV, made their living doing that. Now it's like the accessibility, and if you have an ounce of creativity and you give a damn in the slightest, I mean, you can create some sort of type like media empire that really would have been unheard of a number
You
of
can
years ago.
do it
So
with
it's
a
interesting.
cell phone. You don't need a boardroom.
You
Like,
can.
it's literally David versus Goliath has an actual fighting shot. If you have, like you said, the creativity and
Yeah.
consistency, you can do almost anything you want. It's
So
a
the
great
two
100%.
time.
biggest the two biggest office hits in recent times, they both beat Star Wars. They're both horror films. One of them I saw, I think it was called Obsession, and there was another one called Backrooms, like massive movies
Ooh.
on very small budgets. Those
Mhm.
were written and directed by YouTubers. And fun fact, more people watch YouTube than all other networks combined.
It's
Like
crazy.
20 million uploads a day,
I
1
believe it.
billion hours watched every single day. So these are the numbers, and this is the reason why I'm making the effort towards YouTube.
Of
And
course.
what's cool about this podcast that you're on right now is there's going to be a billion shorts. Everyone's going to see us talking about this right now, spread across probably the next 30 days on all platforms. So it's like I start with the long form, chop it up, and then it just trickles down to the rest. I don't really care about TikTok or Facebook, but I just threw them in there anyway because it'll just go out automatically.
Yeah.
Why not?
All right. Can I switch back over? we do this a lot on the podcast. We jump back and forth, but I have to know this. Your tonality and the way you speak, obviously coming from your broadcasting, it's obvious you know what you're doing. Just the way you explain and your inflections, it's awesome. It's very captivating. Did you have a mentor or somebody that when you were starting off in that industry, that you followed to realize the power that you can literally have with your voice? Because it's perfect. And I've been studying, we talk about emotional intelligence a lot, and I think it's the most underutilized thing in most of the people in the glass world. So did you have a mentor, or how did you learn this?
That's a great question. And I think when I started off, I initially I wanted to be a newspaper writer, and my mom goes, "Why would you want to be in a newspaper?" She goes, "Go on television." It's like, gosh, I'm kind of scared, kind of camera shy. I don't know. Long story short, things began to go that way in college. And I would say who my real mentor was. I got an internship in Washington D.C. when I was still in college with Bob Schieffer. He was the original host of Face the Nation. So this was a political public policy type show, right? Okay,
I know
okay.
the show. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the old school guys. You never knew which way he swung politically, which I wildly respected him
That's
for.
the best. Yep.
It is because you could focus on the stories.
Yes.
And it was great. I interned with him for about 4.5 months. And he at the end of every show, we'd all sit around and we talk about what worked, what we could have done different. I was a low level baby producer, right? Like I was nobody on the totem pole. My job was to be useless and not screw up. That was it. And speak when spoken to.
Right.
And I remember, at the end of every show, we'd be sitting around and Bob Schieffer would be like, "Andy, that was a pretty good show, didn't you think?" I was like, "Oh, yes, Mr. Schieffer, that was an amazing show. Every show is great." But I think what I learned from him is that, everybody has sort of a TV persona, but it needs to align with who you are as an individual outside the studio. And I really got that from him because who he was in the studio doing those interviews, that direct, but kind of would find humor here and there, that's who he was outside the studio. And I think really at an early age, I learned if you can kind of marry those two personalities together, and that's kind of just, there's a level of authenticity there because, right, Keith, nothing vibes higher than authenticity. And
100%.
I was fortunate. I learned that very early, but I learned it from Bob Schieffer. And I ran into him in South Dakota. He went to school there, a college, and he was doing a speech, and I got to interview him. And I was probably 5 years removed from my internship. And he was just like, he was very complimentary. He goes, "I knew you'd make it." He goes, "And you'll go a lot further, Andy." And I did. I went all the way to Washington, D.C. He had retired by the time I got there, but there was a lot of people that helped me throughout my career, but I would say he was the first one. And then Bill O'Reilly actually gave me a lot of, he said, I met him. I was in my college career and I said, "I want to be going to broadcasting. What do I need to know?" He goes, "2 things, write well and look good." I was like, "Oh, that's it."
Yeah, I got this.
Yeah. I thought maybe I could. I don't know. But and there's, honest to God, Keith, I've got 100 stories like that of people who I've taken little bits here and there.
One of my favorite
career.
One of my favorite YouTube clips of all time, Brady, you gotta look this up, is of Bill O'Reilly. "We'll do it live. We'll do it live." It's got like 1 billion views. You guys see, it's hilarious.
Maybe the next episode we can just live stream it. We'll live stream it and then post it everywhere.
Yeah. Let me tell you about that. The funny or the not funny thing, however you would look at it, the tensions are so high.
Yes.
That stuff happens. I mean, you're in fight or flight mode. You wouldn't think after all those years you would be, but all of a sudden, I mean, as neat TV anchors, a lot of us have had moments like that where you're just like, forget it.
You're at your breaking point. Everybody's got a breaking point.
Yeah. Right. And here's the thing. There's like 8 people that make that show happen, right? You're not just talking to one cameraman. You got producers, you've got directors, you've got sound. I mean, so he made an executive call. Now, he was pretty colorful when he did it, but that's why we watched. That's why he's got 8 billion views.
I like it, and I'm going to stick up for him from the standpoint, only somebody, I got the hairs are standing up. Only the person that truly loves, like really loves what they do can invoke that type of emotion. So when I see someone do that, that just means I'm like, this guy's more passionate about this than everybody. And
It's true.
Only someone at that level can have that type of outburst. Let's do it live.
Yeah, but I can't remember. Like, was he pulling his earpiece out? I need to go see it
Yeah,
again.
he didn't
But
have a jacket. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm going to watch it too.
yeah. You know, I mean, it's intense like that, and it's 5 days a week for most of us. So you either rise to the occasion or goodness gracious, it's going to eat you alive.
Yep.
It's a heck of an industry. But anyway, it was fun.
No, that is super fascinating, and it's painfully obvious that your ability to articulate, listen, and think fast has helped propel you to a top tier position in the glazing industry, even though your background is not in glazing. So, compliments to you on that. And with that said, I want to go ahead and move over. I want to talk about one of my favorite glass systems, and I know Keith uses it too, the Fallbrook. Now, the story about the Fallbrook for me is that I was at Glass Build maybe 2 years ago, and my buddy Gareth, I used to work with him back when he was at Bole. He like flagged me down from across the room. He's like, Brandon, come here. Like he was excited. I was like, oh shit. Like it's been a while, man, but what's up?
What?
He's like, why don't you come look at this? And he brings me to the Fallbrook, and in the huge CR Laurence booth that kind of blends in with all the rest of the stuff, the door rails, the shower door hardware, this and that. But he pointed out some specific things to me that kind of sparked my brain. He said, look at these extrusions. Like these extrusions can fit 3/4 inch insulated glass. They can fit laminated glass. They can fit 3/8. They can fit 1/2 inch. It can use the hydraulic patch fitting hinges, which he knows that I love, or it can use these new hinges that have the door pressed against the sill. And he specifically told me then, he's like, this would be perfect for your wine rooms. And guess what? We're doing one almost every single week now in front of a wine room, going back that far. And then when I talked to Keith, we crossed paths, and he saw one of my videos where I did a wine room, and then I saw one of his videos, and it was pretty interesting, where he's actually using it like for a steam shower. And I was like, holy shit, that's actually brilliant, because it'll definitely hold all the steam. Like some people think that a steam shower should be like a spaceship, and you got to explain to them it's not a spaceship, but with the Fallbrook it probably is. So I just want to hear, do your other customers love the Fallbrook as much as I do? Like, what are they using them for? And then we can hear Keith's thoughts about the Fallbrook.
Brandon, it is no exaggeration when I say my favorite offering from CRL is the Fallbrook. First off, yes, Gareth Francie, who introduced you to this, is a mentor of mine here at CRL. Fabulous human being. Shout out. I know. I love that guy. Great accent too. We should have him on the show. He's got the best South African accent. But I think what is so impressive about Fallbrook, there's a couple things, but one of them for me is it's not just glass and metal. It is architectural options, and you can utilize it as you do. You mentioned with the wine rooms, it's very popular. It's very elegant. You can also, if you go with the Fallbrook XL, then you can do offices in anywhere from a doctor's office to a lawyer's office, anywhere you might need to do a little sound mitigation with those IGs in there. But I just think, you've got all these different options, and it's minimalistic, yes, but it still makes a statement. And I think there's a lot of power in that. And I think we're at a time where people are expressing themselves more and more in their home and their office environments. And it just really allows them to do that. I love it. Anything from like the New York grid, that we have, those grids, I've seen those, you've utilized those, but it's becoming a very popular product for us. And with people like you, Brandon and Keith, you guys utilize it in such a beautiful, magnificent way. More often than not, Brandon, I have sent people to your LinkedIn to like, here's what's possible. Here's what you can do. Here's how you can utilize it and master the system. Plus, it's from Austria. We love the Austrians. There's no kangaroos, not Australia, Austria. Think Sound of Music. Right? So we've got, Christoph and Felix down there. And it's just a lot of opportunities to utilize Fallbrook. It's a beautiful, beautiful system.
I also love using it on the wine cellars, but our biggest opportunities have come in commercial office spaces. Ever since, I call it the Google effect, when they started doing glass offices, you know, most people don't even know this, but Google came up with the idea of doing glass offices because they found neurologically it ended up making the people more productive, 31% smarter in a positive frame of mind. And they realized by putting people in these 4 sheetrocked walls that they were actually handicapping themselves from reaching their true potential. So by opening up part of the office with an all glass to get some natural daylight in, it automatically sparked an uptick of roughly 31% in human beings just being in a more positive manner. Now we fast forward. Brandon will probably post some of these pictures in here when we clip it, but we did an office, I don't know, maybe there was 12 different offices, and they're right on top of each other. And they're doing a lot of phone calls. There's people like me that have loud voices. They carry when we get excited and we want to close a deal. And the Fallbrook still gives it that frameless look with kind of like the storefront sound capability, because I think storefront now a lot of times in some of these offices just can be bulky and dated. Let's face it, if they're trying to modernize the space, and the Fallbrook really satisfies that. We love it. We love it. The barrel hinges that he was talking about, we've used. I've actually never tried the latch patch hinges that I've seen on some of them, but we absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So one thing about the Fallbrook that I really appreciate, so we don't do a whole lot of commercial, but we want to start getting into that now that we're getting into our new building. We're going to start building out our production. We're starting to go after more commercial jobs, but I actually love the Fallbrook because it is different from your traditional storefront and like your huge door rails. It's like absolutely perfect because there's like 3 levels, right? There's like the basic Fallbrook, which is the most frameless, where just the door itself has a frame, but then that same frame goes around the perimeter. So it almost looks like the door frame is like freestanding in the middle of a glass wall.
Yes, it's cool.
That's like a very unique look.
Yeah.
It has all the sills. It has a STC 42 rating, by the way. You could jump it up from there. And we then have the Fallbrook XL, and that's what we use because you can throw the insulated glass units in there. And I will say that even though we don't do a lot of offices, I know we're going to sell these in offices, and I know that they work because we do a lot of wine cellars that have like really heavy blowers on the inside. And when that Fallbrook door is closed, I can't hear a thing from the outside. So it works in reverse too, keeping sound in from your dining room to keep your wine cool. And then finally the Fallbrook XL NY system. I haven't had an opportunity to use that lately, but I can tell you that for years, I've been basically engineering like our own system. I called it low profile storefront, where I'd use like 1.5 channel, 3/4 inch insulated glass units and like the patch fitting systems. And I would design them together to basically be what the Fallbrook was. And then when Gareth pointed it out to me, I'm like, holy shit, I've been waiting for this to come out. Now I can stop piecing all these pieces and parts together. The guys kind of get upset with me when I design stuff that's not, doesn't go together super easy, but the Fallbrook now has the cut to length program, and we're going on our 3rd project now where we just order cut to size and the parts just get sent to us already cut. We put it together on our table in the shop. We can then take that, if it fits on a rack and it fits inside, we can just take the whole thing as a full frame assembly. And then the time in the field is like 1,000 times better. So when we first installed our first Fallbrook, we try to fab all the metal on site, and it was a huge mess.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So we learned along the way, but that's definitely the way to go. And it's up and running right now. So I just talked to my buddy Connor Sell about this earlier today. I hooked him up with Gareth and Christoph, and he has a potential deal with another wine cellar company where he's going to be doing these things over and over. And he was asking me these questions, and I was like, dude, I actually just recorded a YouTube video last night where I describe all the things I just said. I have tons of B-roll, some of Keats that I'm going to drop. I was like, just give me a couple days and watch that YouTube video. And then I sent him videos I already made for stuff that he's trying to accomplish. So I feel like I can't remember where I'm going with this. All I know is that I love the Fallbrook. And it is my genuine, like, okay, full disclosure, I'm working with CR Laurence. I'm legally obliged to say that here on this YouTube video, but I've been using CR Laurence for years, and I've been using the Fallbrook, and I absolutely love it. It's perfect for those who want something elegant, functional, and something that can set you apart from your competition. And the fact that you can now order a cut to size makes 1,000 times of a difference.
And that's something that we are working towards with CRL, as far as just making everything that we can easier for the guys in the field. And that's why the cut to length program came about. We're like, gosh, we could help them out a little bit more. And one of the neatest applications that I saw, maybe it was 2 months ago, up in Berthoud, was just monstrous size house. I don't know, I think 20,000 square feet. And if you have a house that big, you have to have a basketball court, right? I mean,
Of course.
obviously.
Duh.
Of course you do. So the neat thing was they had this massive basketball court, but then they had the Fallbrook system was separating the noise that would come off the basketball court with like a seating area with all the TVs, and so you still got to enjoy. Your kids or whomever
Cool.
playing, but Michael Jordan, if you invite him to your house, he might come, as nice as that setup was. But it was just like the variety of applications for the Fallbrook system is fabulous. And then I just saw something simple but elegant that I believe you did, Brandon, and it was kind of that nook upstairs, right? Did you kind of partition that off with Fallbrook? Did I see that? Maybe I'm
I don't
making this up.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's
No,
like so
that's
many in
all
my
right. You
brain.
do so much. But I
I
saw
think I think
like
I saw it
somebody
as
did
well.
that.
Yeah.
Somebody did
Yeah.
that. And I was like, oh, that's a nice idea too. So the applications for Fallbrook are just about well, I hate to say endless, but there's a lot of options. And yeah, Bearing Glass, you guys are an incredible resource and do beautiful work. I recommend you all the time, every chance I get, actually.
Well, I really appreciate it, and back at you. So one thing I've noticed since you basically got promoted to general manager at CR Lawrence is that it is a lot better now. And I just want to talk about, Oldcastle Building Envelope and CR Lawrence are under the same umbrella. There's an
Hmm.
Oldcastle here in Denver, so obviously we order from them sometime. And in recent years, it hasn't been so hot, but um, you came to our shop with the general manager, and you guys in person described to me all the things that you have going on in detail, as far as like what the machines are doing, the QC protocols, all the
Hmm.
help that was outside that you're now bringing onto the inside, the C&I thing that wasn't working, that does all the quality control that they're going to get fixed, like all these different things. And I perfectly understood what he was talking about, because I worked in a glass shop for years. And just
Yeah.
the fact they came down to our little baby shop, I'm sure we're a baby by comparison to some of the other customers that just order truckloads of glass every day. But just the fact that you guys came down made a huge difference and explained to me what was happening. And Oldcastle is getting better. So Oldcastle's on the up
Hmm.
and up. Andy, you guys recognize
Yes.
that there was maybe a little dip, but
Hmm.
I can see the tide starting to turn. So I just want to give you guys props and thanks for coming down to our shop and doing that for us.
I mean, absolutely. And Jim, the new plant manager over there at OBE's, wonderful guy, working very hard to. You're right. I mean, things were not going smoothly and hadn't for quite some time. And we knew that we needed to get somebody in there who had an eye for processes and somebody that could just change up the way things were done. I think in the name of trying to save money for many, many years, I think systems sort of smaller crews, less attention to detail, and those things happen when you're a big corporation. But I think the tide has turned in a tremendous way, and it's like without our customers, we are nothing. We do not exist. Without happy customers, we do not exist. So what we did is we brought somebody in who's very serious about turning that battleship around. Right, this is a big old beast of a factory. And so we feel like we've got the right person in place, and he is implementing those changes in those processes, and everything from quality control to delivery of full orders, just trying to get away from the back orders. I mean, we know that we made life difficult for our glazers for a while. And honestly, that is absolutely unacceptable. Not acceptable on my watch. That is for sure. So we are addressing a lot of issues and doing better with getting more customer service reps in. And I'll tell you what, those are hard because they have to be trained up to a certain level, and it takes time. So we're just about there with training our new customer service representatives, and that will help tremendously. So I've been really waiting on that. But CRL, we had that that transition into the new system, and it just beat the hell out of a lot of our customers and us too. To be honest, it was difficult. But I think CRL, you'll find we have really gotten that back online in a really strong way, and it's showing. The customers are coming back to us because at the end of the day, CRL, we are not going to be the cheapest date. We're just not. But if you are looking for quality in your products, there's nobody better. And I think our customers know that. They're not trying to get the absolute cheapest, but boy, they want the best. And their customers, like yours, Brandon and Keith, demand the absolute best. And that's where we come in. So it's been an uphill. We're not done yet. We're not out of the woods yet, but we're making improvements every day. And I think our customers are finally starting to see that.
Well, I don't have a problem saying it. I know these issues had been existing, and I'm addicted to social media, so I see what everyone else around the country is saying.
Yeah.
But I can tell you from a personal experience, when I have a sales representative, meaning my architectural glass or my shower door, has a representative that is ambitious about giving good customer service and either fixing or nurturing the relationship a little bit further, that goes a long way. In the past, and any of these people that were hemming and hawing about it probably were never even talking to a sales rep. They were just set in their ways. I put my order in, I wait for the box to come. It's not here. Now it's a problem. Screw that company. I advocate for every glass shop to utilize their sales representatives to help push things further along. In fact, they know who to call. They know what levers to pull to help get your product. But even more importantly, the sales reps that communicate early and often take the fear and anxiety out of the situation. I read somewhere that the fear of the unknown is the most powerful stressor a human being can go through. And so if I order something and I'm expecting it, but my sales rep says, well, I didn't call you because I didn't have any information, I say you're doing it wrong. I would call every day and say, hey, I don't have an answer, but I'm going to call you back tomorrow, because now you just put me on ice for 24 hours and I'm not riddled with anxiety. And so shout out to our guy, Jason Smith. And I've heard you've been doing the same thing. So shout out to you. Have you found that to work to your advantage?
Keith, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it is about communication. And when I can get out ahead of something, I definitely, certainly try to. I think, I think we've kind of, not we, but I think in general, we just think, oh, the computers have it, the machines have it, we're fine. It's just not, I think as a society, we're starting to try and want to get back to that human connection because we realize that, the computer systems are not always accurate and things don't always go through properly. So I think, Keith, what you just said, get to know who your rep is in your area. And if it's and you probably have a CRL rep, and do you know who they are? Have they reached out? If not, find out who it is and utilize them, because they are an incredible resource. And you're right, Keith, they can help spearhead stuff where maybe you're a little bit stuck. So I agree. I think it's huge. You utilize your rep. They're paid to help you,
So I just want to give a shout out to my CR Laurence rep. She's sitting right here on this podcast.
Oh, Andi.
And since we started working together, we don't have nearly as many problems as we used to in the past, where we would order stuff and nobody seemed to know where it was at. So I'm not sure what happened behind the scenes or since you've been on board, but I can tell you there's a day and night difference. And when I can just order hardware and not have to think about it ever again, that's a win. And that's how it's been for us lately. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. You guys, and I want all my customers to be able to feel that way. And I think anytime that running a business, Brandon, and Keith, that is tough. That takes everything. I come from a long line of business owners. I didn't go that way, but I understand what is behind it. And you are only as good as the people that are helping back your business and your partners, right? So, and I think for a minute there, we got into a bit of an adversarial relationship. It's like everybody was upset, nobody was happy, they weren't getting what they needed. And it's like, if we're all like you said, Brandon, now pulling in the same direction, and that goal is success. It's success for CRL, OBE. It's for Barron Glass. It's if one company's happy, we're all happy. And I think that's the message moving forward. Our job is to show up and be a hell of a partner for you.
Well, thank you. So I want to switch gears, and I want to talk about a product that I'm anxious to get my hands on, but I haven't yet. I was expecting my sample in the mail, And Andy and I think we're gonna get with one of our customers who's gonna install one soon, and do a little mini documentary or something cool. So I haven't personally had my hands on it, but I want to talk about the TurboFlex. So apparently you know more about it than I do, and Keith knows more about it than I do. So Keith, you can go first. Tell me, what do you know about the TurboFlex? What do you like? And then Andy, if you want to add your thoughts to help educate me
Yeah,
and our audience who doesn't know what that is.
for sure.
Well, the first thing that I enjoyed about it is the deliverable sample that came in. It wasn't just a cut off piece of base shoe with glass in and all the components. It's in, like, I'd say, a glorified iPhone box that's got all the like, it's a nice piece of advertisement. Like, I would show up to a lunch and learn with everything in
You'd
this
be like,
box. And it's like, wow, it adds to it, adds some credibility. Why I like it, Brandon, is where we're situated here along the Gulf of America on the west coast of Florida. There's a lot of railing systems now that the Florida building codes mandate it has to meet certain criteria as far as design pressures, wind loads, and they want to have these engineering reports that comply with Florida building code. And there's not a lot to pick from out on the market that someone invested not only in their product, but to go through a fenestration lab to get these approvals. And so this carries that. And it makes our job as customer service agents better, because now we have more options to give our customers. And buying an option like this from a company we already have an established relationship with is even better. So I'm excited we haven't installed our first one. However, I have about 7 bids out there for this product. So it's not a question of if we're going to sell, it's just a matter of when, and I hope it's going to be soon.
I hope it's going to be soon too. And I love, and you're right. I mean, the fact that it's built to withstand the happenings in Florida, then that tells you a lot about the quality of the system. But I think what a lot of our glazers who I've introduced it to, some are like, no, Andy, I like taper lock. I'm like, taper lock's great. I get it. But listen, look at this. When you're talking, I mean, it comes in 10-foot sections, right? And every foot there is a clamp that is adjustable. So, and you can, it has 2 degrees of tilt forward or backwards, right? Depending on whatever. So there's incredible adjustability. And then let's just, be honest, when you're talking about installing a base shoe, you pray that everything's pretty level. It's never going to be 100%. So sometimes you need that height adjustment. And there's also opportunity to purchase height adjusters that can go into that base shoe, that can lift that glass up, so you can lift it, you can tilt it, and it just makes life a little bit easier. So hopefully you're not there spending all this time, using shims or folding pieces of paper, trying anything you can to get that perfectly level. This will, yeah, right? You just sit there, you're like cussing, sweating, so angry at this point. But if we can make life easier, which is what we're all about for our glazers, we just want it, less time in the field, which means more money in your pocket because you're not paying your guys to be out there as long. So and Brandon, you were there. You remember last year we unveiled this at Glass Build in Orlando, and I believe you got to see it demonstrated for the first time.
I did. There was a lot going on, so it was kind of fuzzy in my memory. But
It was a
now that
lot.
we're doing full circle, we do. So the glass railings that we install. So by the way, the TurboFlex is a base shoe with adjustability to bring it to the front of the market, and the fact that it's going to have the engineering behind it for the coastal means that it should also have the engineering behind it to work on top of skyscrapers or in the high country where there's massive wind loads. But everything that you just described and what I saw at Glass Build is the adjustability. So I remember when the taper lock first came out, I think it may have been 15 years ago or longer. I remember I was the guinea pig for the taper lock. They were like, hey, Bobby Barrett himself, right? He's like, hey, you got this new system, it's a base shoe system. Like, go try it out. It was just a simple run, parallelograms on a stringer. And so we went to go install the base shoe, and we put the glass in there, and we used the taper lock system with that huge ratchet, and it was pretty slick because it just locked the glass in place, which meant that it's not going to slide down the base shoe, right? So it's like when you set glass the old-fashioned way, you have to have something really strong at the end to hold the weight of all the glass until the glue dries. So the taper lock just gripped it immediately, and if you made a mistake, you could just undo it. And at the time, that was revolutionary, but we quickly discovered that if you don't have that base shoe perfectly level, a third of a degree off equals 3 degrees off by the time you go up 42 inches. And so we're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? So we had to take it apart and shim it out just right, so it's perfect. And as long as you can do that, you were fine. If you had clamps or a top rail, you can kind of like cheat it, and you were fine attached to the wall. But the fact that we're gonna have adjustability and engineering behind it is going to be massive. And fun fact, I am working on video content for this system. Haven't got it in my hands yet. I'm super excited, but I understand that you can design your systems in the CR Laurence program, Railings Online. So I love Showers Online. I've been using it for 20 years. I love Entrances Online. You can design some Fallbrooks on there. So now I just got access to Railings Online, and I'm anxious to get in there and tinker with it and see how it works and report back.
Oh yeah. Well, I always look forward to a report back. And I think, you bring up a good point. And this is, you guys, like I said, this is a nationwide podcast. And that's something good to mention for other glazers. Reach out to your TSM and have them get you that Railings Online. Ask for that free trial, give it a shot, and we have plenty of people that can help instruct you on it if you get a little stuck. But once you start utilizing it, Brandon, and any other glazer out there who wants to give it a shot, you'll find the value, and you'll be like, oh yeah, this is good, I like this. Keith,
I
have you
really
tried it
like
yet?
it. Yeah, well, I played with the sample. Like I said, we got displays out there, but our estimates out there, but we haven't locked one up yet.
Yeah, you'll get one.
But looking at the sample, digesting the in and out, you almost think that should be standard at this point, but I've never seen one to have the height adjustment. That's massive. And it's no more taper lock, I believe. It's a mechanical fitting, which I actually personally like that better. The taper lock was revolutionary, and never doing glass railings before, when I first saw it, I said, this is brilliant. But after doing it over and over again, I like the mechanical fitting. I'm in there with the actual tool. It's not like I feel like it's tightening as I'm turning the wrench, and I love it. I love it. I absolutely love
That's true. And each one of those, we always recommend buy the torque limiter. It's just this little thing, but it helps save your life. It's important to get that. But no, I agree with you. I feel the same way. And the fact that you can use your screwdriver. Some of the guys, if probably like an impact drill. But again, that is why we have torque limiters, so we don't get torque crazy. But it is a revolutionary system, and we are just so darn proud of it. And it's been in the works for a while. And when I first came on to CRL, I heard a lot of customers were like, are you guys thinking of anything new with the railing systems, with glass railings? And it was so funny. Pete French, L&L Glass, was the first guy to start mentioning that to me. And I was like, well, there might be something in the works. And then, of course, there was, right? So I just think it's the next step. And when you've got something that can withstand the types of wind and the strength of it, the system, I mean, it's going to sell itself. It's already is. And I can't wait to hear about and see pictures of both your projects, because I know they're going to be spectacular.
Definitely. And one thing I just realized as you were describing the height adjustment is that Keith and I can attest to this, but when we sell a glass railing, it's like less is more. So often they don't get top caps at all unless they're absolutely required. And so when you have those conditions, you have exposed top edges, getting that glass right to line up just right can be a challenge. And then getting the tilt right. Sometimes it tilts that way a bit or that way a bit. So being able to do that and dial that in with the mechanical fastener, that's huge. So
yeah,
I cannot wait.
I know. Me too.
All right. So is there any other cool products that you got going on over there at CR Laurence that you want to make us aware of, or have a cool story behind that you discovered recently on the road? You can shout out anybody, Mark Milios, Pete.
I do.
I know everybody in this town.
I like my friends, right? Yeah, that's right. Well, my buddies at Moffett Glass,
Jim Young.
Moffett, Jim Young.
Jim Young. Yeah.
Jim Young's a TikTok man.
He is.
I like Jim Young.
But I know. I've only met him like once, but I know Mike very well. But I think the Trento hinge, let's just touch on that briefly. I don't want to, go into too much, but the thing is when you're talking about, shower doors, and you guys are well aware of this, people like the bigger doors, right? At this point, what people want in their homes is sort of changing. And when you're looking at the Trento hinge, if you've got two of them, it can hold a 150-pound door up to 40 inches. And that's the beauty of it. And it feels like when you put it in your hand, I had one, I think I left it in the truck, but the weight of it, I'm somebody, I like to touch things, right? I mean, the quality tends to have weight to it, whether you want to think of it that way or not, it does. And these are just the quality hinges, come in 5 beautiful finishes. And a lot of people are utilizing them where they want those bigger shower doors. And we've got those non-asbestos fiber gaskets that come with them. And they're kind of, they're not glued in, which I know some guys like that, but these are notched. And so they sit in. You can turn the hinge upside down. They're not going to fall out. But when you tighten that against the glass, you've got a more even compression, right? I know some of the guys out there love those clear gaskets, or some of the black ones that are kind of mush out. These do not do that. They hold the glass really well. They compress against the glass. So I think as we evolve, again, you're seeing items that are just trying to make sure that they last a long time in the home and they're easy to install. And the Trento hinge is another one that just, you raise the flag on that. You're like, yep, that's awesome. Buy it, ask for it. And if
All
you
right.
haven't gotten a sample, put it in your hand. You need to feel the weight.
I want to tell you about that because I've used it more than a couple times. I remember the day it came out, it launched with the zero clamp hardware.
That's right.
I haven't used the zero clamps as much. I know that like it's kind of a cool idea that one clamp could be any clamp. It could be a glass to wall, it could be glass to glass. They're just different pieces and parts. And what I like
Yeah.
about the zero clamp too, I'll get into the Trento hinge in a second, but what I like about that is that it has covers. So you don't see any fasteners whatsoever. You can do your satin brass. They're pretty stout. But one thing I like about the Trento hinge that I didn't foresee coming is that it accepts a standard hinge cutout. So for decades, we've been using the Vienna hinge, and that's like been the
Yes.
gold standard for all competitors to kind of copy that. And because they copied that exactly, it's been the same hinge cutout no matter who you order from for a long time. And what I like about the Trento hinge is that yes, it is heavy duty, but it's not as massive as a Victorian, but it
Hmm.
utilizes exactly the same hinge cutout, which is massive for eliminating room for error. So we didn't just see like a brand new hinge with a brand new hinge cutout. That can kind of throw off some of our guys, but that was pretty sweet. And then also, I noticed that the Trento hinge inside the box, it comes with like these little covers that fit on the screw holes. Or no, maybe
Yeah.
it's not covers. Maybe it's like a plate, a magnetic plate. So there's like a plate that you can put on the inside after you tighten the fasteners, sticks on there with magnets. You can probably put a little drop of silicone on there if you want. So you don't see any fasteners whatsoever on the inside and outside. And it does hold a pretty massive 1/2 inch door. Like I've used them a
Yeah.
handful of times and I am a fan.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that feedback, and you're right. It is retrofittable to the Vienna, which is huge. I missed that point, but you picked up where I left off, and I appreciate it because you're absolutely 100% correct on that.
Have you tried them yet, Keith? Or you guys do your own hinges, right?
Yeah, we do, but we have projects where we will do retro. I recently just did a project where it was a boutique hotel, 90 rooms, and they wanted to change out all the hardware. They're changing all the colors, but they wanted to reutilize the glass. And this is exactly what I found out, that it's the same. I took apart the hinge in the field to measure the notch, and to my surprise, I was like, "Oh, this is great. This hinge will fit in all 90 of these doors," which, is 180 hinges. Is a nice job. So anybody out there
Mhm.
that's attacking a lot of these hotels, every 5 years they're remodeling, 5 to 7 years they're remodeling, and so you can utilize the glass but use these upgraded hinges, provide another level of safety to these hoteliers. I think that's a big plus. It's a
Mm.
big plus.
For sure. And, for a lot of those hinges too, you look at them, you see that little CRL logo. We take that pretty seriously. So I think when you're talking about doing a remodel, whether it's in a home or a retrofit, some hinges in a commercial building, such as a hotel, it's like, you're right. We take that all very seriously and want to make sure that it's the best product going in by the most knowledgeable glazers in the industry. And that's how we're all going to win this and continue to grow and be successful.
I really got to
Yep.
work
I
on my
actually have some content. I have some content in my camera I haven't used yet. It's a shower door system using the Trento hinge. So when I put that video together, I'll be sure to tag
Nice.
you and reference this conversation. So we're getting near the end. We're gonna have to land the plane
Okay.
soon. So what what's up and coming for CR Lawrence and Oldcastle? I mean, other than glass build, obviously, but is there anything exciting coming up in the near future that we have to look forward to?
Well, that's right. I mean, glass build for certain. That's coming up. We're going to be there. So make sure you swing by, say howdy. Probably coming by for a happy hour. But what we do have coming up at OBE on October. So mark your calendars. We're going to be in the market, really spreading the word. And we want
Ooh,
everybody to come and just, check it out. See what's new, see what we're doing differently. And, I think you'll be impressed. And I think if you haven't already given us a second chance, I think you'll be ready to after the open house.
that's
So
smart.
when I was a teenager, I remember the very first time I walked into an old castle, my mind was blown because it's like football fields and football fields and
Oh,
football fields size of just glass and glazing. It was insane. Like I was 50 years old when I started in this industry. I'm sure it's like
wow.
much crazier now, but I very much look forward to that. And so I just want to wrap up this episode. I like to end every episode with what we got going on this week. So this time I'll go last, but Andy, you can go first. What's going on in your world this week?
So this week, it's compared to what weeks have been. This one's almost a little on the quiet side. I'm going to jinx it now that I said that, but I'm heading
Mhm.
down to Colorado Springs, going to City Glass and El Paso Glass. So I'm going to be on the road the rest of the week, which is great. I like having windshield time, and I think it's the best way to still connect with the customers and get a handle on the projects that they have coming up. Try and get out ahead of that, right? So, but it's going to be a good week, and it's already Tuesday. So chop chop, right?
Chop, chop.
That's awesome. The first thing I have a whole litany of stuff I have to do this week, and I'm happy to share it. But after this podcast, the one thing I realize is I need to work on my speaking cadence. I want to be like Andy when I grow up. I could listen to her talk literally for hours. But you could just read the phone book, and I'd be happy to listen to it.
Oh, bless you.
Massively powerful. It's hard not to listen and really dive into what you're saying just on how you say it. It's crazy. But we my architectural glass and our sister company, My Shower, were worded verbally a very large project, 7-figure project that we've been working on as a team collectively for over a year, and we're hoping to sign a contract tomorrow. So that's what's going on this week.
Nice.
Going to be going
Okay,
out,
good.
seeing the installers in the field, getting some more, video content because I obsess over social media content, like my friend
Yeah.
Brandon. But other than that, hoping to be not busy, but productive.
That's right. There's a difference.
Big difference. How about you, Brando? What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to hire a speech therapist because I feel like I got to step up my game as well. But no,
You
just being
guys.
around you, it's crazy. So obviously you've been doing it for 13 years and it's painfully obvious that you should be the face and voice of CR Lawrence. I
Any
told you that when I
company.
first met
Yeah.
you. Yeah. And I notice, I'm not nearly at your level, but what I notice is that when Keith and we do this podcast unscripted every single week or most weeks. And since we've been doing that, I feel like every week that passes, my ability to speak gets a little bit better. So
Oh
one
yeah.
day I'll be like you, but until then, I'm
Yeah.
just honored that you're here serenading us with your presence. So
Oh,
this week, this week we got moved into our new building. So we got our one flat polisher. We got our electrician friend to run power to it. We just got to finish assembling the racks. We got all the offices moved into our one office space. It's a little tight. We kind of threw a fresh coat of paint. It's, kind of got extension cords and boxes everywhere. I think mine and Bob's office are actually in the shop. So we're trying to get that figured out. So we're getting that situated. But other than that, I just got a bunch of jobs to follow up on. I've been,
yeah.
closing left and right, more Fallbrooks actually, believe it or not. And
Great.
I very much look forward to glass build and seeing what the TurboFlex is all about.
All right. Well, you guys, I tell you what, I just appreciate you guys invited me on. You guys do a wonderful job, and I've enjoyed watching the progression. And you both are very talented and very passionate. And again, nothing vibes higher than authenticity. And you guys got that covered. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I hope you invite me back sometime.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
you'll be back.
All right.
Definitely.
Yep. Oh,
Thank you.
a quick note I forgot to mention is that I'm going to push stop, but don't hang up yet because it has to upload to the cloud.
Mm, okay.
Okay. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. This episode is raw authenticity. I'm not going to edit a single thing out of this, nothing. So this is actually who we are. And if you're in Denver, Colorado, and you want to get on with CR Laurence, or maybe you haven't used them in a while, but you want to give another shot, call Andi. She'll take care of you.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, guys.